Hello, in this video we're going to be working on creating a map to show users a list of, or to show administrators, a list of incidents where the user is not a member of the team. So a great example of where this becomes a problem and where we wanted to catch this, because this is something I've run into many times over the years, is we have an owner that's been set, and maybe we even have a team that's been set. For instance, Andrew Sims is a member of second level support, but not first level support. So we have these items that have been set, and perhaps we have a classification that's set. You'll notice as soon as I pick out service, team gets cleared out. If I select a subcategory, the team changes to HR. If I set it to something else, perhaps it changes again, depending on what the default team is for the subcategory value, and that's our default team field right there. The issue that's occurring right here is that we have our OwnedBy Team field configured to auto-populate anytime there's a change to subcategory, and it's going to populate with essentially the default team value from that subcategory. And I'll show you the reason that it's populating when we change the service as well is because of the way that subcategory is validated. So you notice this is validated with limits on, or filters based on the category and service, and there's a checkbox that says when limiting values change, clear field's value. So even though earlier when we have this completely blanked out, if we set a value on team and then we set a service, service is a limiting value for subcategory, so it tries to clear subcategory even though it's already blank, which counts as a change, which causes our OwnedBy team to try and populate as a result of a change from subcategory, and it tries to populate with the default team selected for subcategory, which is currently nothing. And if we've selected a subcategory, then it's going to populate with that default team. And this is a very long way of me saying, if I've selected a team, it doesn't keep that team if I make any changes to classification. And what I like to do when I have a client that I'm working with that has this issue is I like to lock this down so after you've set it once, you can't clear it out. Or you have to go through some process to clear it out that makes it very clear what's about to happen to your OwnedBy and OwnedBy team values, or that prompts you to reassign the OwnedBy team after you've set this. In this instance, in case you've run into this issue, we're going to be providing a SQL script that shows you a list of different incidents where this has happened and will allow you to correct the data corruption that's already happened in your service desk as a result of this possible issue. Because in my own experience, you can have service desk representatives running into this issue for some time, and it takes a while to go back and the biggest issue I've had with this is that you can't find the tickets where this happens. You can search for incidents where the OwnedBy ID is a member of the team, but you can't search for tickets where the OwnedBy ID is not a member of the team that you have selected. So finding these incidents within Cherwell where the OwnedBy team has been flipped actually isn't very possible natively. So what we're going to do is I've designed a SQL script, and this video is going to show up on our YouTube channel as a working session video. We're going to take this SQL script and we're going to turn it into a SQL view, and then we're going to put it in, then we're going to add a relationship to incidents where you'll be able to very easily search for incidents, because we're going to create a relationship and you'll be able to use a related clause to say, there's at least one incident with a mismatched ticket. And essentially, that'll just populate any incident where the ownership is mismatched into your queue. It's going to be a little weird using a related clause for that, but it gives us the ability to pop that right into your search criteria, which is the whole point of this exercise. So our SQL query right here, I feel like I said that a little bit weird, is that we're going to select the incident ID, the OwnedBy value, and the OwnedBy team, and then any other values for our incident from the table incident. Now, when we create a view for this, I've kind of gone ahead and created the view already. Cherwell will throw an error if you include incident ID here and then your asterisk for all other values, because it shows that column multiple times. So when I went to go and create this as a view and populate in my map, I had to just change this to just a blank asterisk. But aside from that, these are the values that I was looking for when I was trying to test out my SQL query. And our limiting factors here are that owned by is not empty, because we want to make sure there is an owner value. Otherwise, there's no reason to check whether or not the owner is a member of the team. You'll notice I'm not filtering on the cases where the owned by team is empty, because one of the possible outcomes that we're trying to clean up is when the owned by team gets cleared. So in this case, Andrew Sims is the owner. There is no owned by team. That's one of the bugs we want to go back and find. So we haven't excluded tickets where the owned by team is empty, and our criteria is right here. It's that owned by ID is not in our subquery, which is right here, of selecting TTM. This is going to be an alias for Trebuchet team member records, and if you've followed along with us previously in some of our other videos, I believe we've explained that this is the join table that links your user info records to the teams that they're members of. So we're putting a subquery into this limiting statement here, excuse my stuttering, that looks for any team members with a matching team def ID to the current incident. That's what this subquery does, is it returns a list of all of the team members for this current team, and then this checks whether the current selected owner is one of these team members that we've selected here in our subquery. And these are the 3 incidents in my demo environment that have that issue. So you'll notice Andrew Sims, if I look in my administrator tool, and back out here, he is only a member of 2 teams by default, second level support and knowledge management. In our mismatched tickets in our demo data here, he is assigned to no team on this incident. He's assigned to first level support on this incident and first level support on this incident. So in all 3 of these cases, we have the wrong team assigned with this user. So these are the types of incidents that we would be looking to clean up, and we would go back and probably reassign these tickets to his correct team, so that when we try to report on these later on, we don't end up with Andrew Sims's name under first level support, because this issue kind of flows both ways. It screws up reporting for Andrew, but it also screws up reporting for the first level support team that now has Andrew's name on their tickets. So if we add the owned by field value to this grid, and then we try to group by the tickets or by the owners that are assigned under first level support's tickets, you'll notice Andrew Sims is now shown as one of the owners for 2 of the tickets under the owned by team of first level support, where really he isn't a member of that team and he shouldn't be listed for any of their tickets. So this is going to help us identify and correct those instances, so that when we go back and report later on, we have accurate data. Now with that said, we already went ahead and created a view in Cherwell, and we did that under a blueprint by creating a new database server object. So you'll see here I've created a database server object. I've named it v_mixed incident team assignments. I feel like I've named that well enough. We've copied and pasted our SQL query in here under the SQL to create object. We've not done anything with the drop view section except for under drop and recreate behavior. We marked only when view changes. The reason for this is if you have to make a change to this view later on and you've left this as table changed, I think, it tries to recreate the view without dropping it on some versions. I've run into issues with it. So the very first time I create a view, just for reference, I always check this box, because then I can go, if I republish a blueprint, I can go and update the view without it like screwing up and me having to manually delete the thing because it's not dropping it and then recreating it. Because somehow on some of the earlier versions, it used to think that it was still new. I don't know how it all happened, because I'm not super familiar with how it's handling publishing those on the back end. Anyways, our next step, now that that view has been created, and I'm just going to double check that I haven't touched anything else in this blueprint. Now that that view has been created, we're going to map a new external business object to it. We're going to use our mapped Sharewell system, external connection definition, which you'll see we use on some of our other maps as well. You'll notice I only have one SQL view on this system. It's pretty clean, this demo environment. We're going to select that. I'm going to map it to a lookup table. We're going to map all fields. Actually, we're not. I wish I could go back. I guess we could map. I'm going to hit cancel. We don't need all fields. Normally I hit map all fields because my views are usually very specific. We are going to map rec ID and incident ID. And as I'm thinking about this, I probably only needed the view to return those two fields. Well, we'll do incident ID and we'll also do owners because that's kind of what we're trying to do, just in case we needed that information shown. Because this view is just going to be used for finding those records and identifying them. We still want to open the actual incident record in Sharewell, which is why I'm going to create this with a relationship to incidents so that we can search on incidents instead of having to search on our new SQL query. So that's kind of why we're going that route. So the actual data we show in this SQL query isn't going to be super important. I am still going to include it here so that if we do try to query this table directly, we get some kind of meaningful information. And I think this should be fine. We don't really, I'll add the OwnedBy Team ID and OwnedBy ID as well, just in case. Because I don't imagine we're going to be searching for a lot of other information. All right. Our unique key is definitely going to be rec ID. We have an option for last modified date time field. I don't think I included that here, but I will include it just in case. Great. It's read-only. We don't need to make any changes. We're going to add, I guess we'll add incident ID and OwnedBy information to search. So we're not really going to be searching on this based on anything else. Perhaps we'll add rec ID too, just in case. Okay, now we have our business object. We do need to create a form for it. It's going to show up in table management in case we need it. I don't want to enable spell check. I clicked the wrong button. All right, so we are going to auto-generate a form. We're going to auto-generate a grid, which should populate correctly. All right, we want incident here, and then OwnedBy and OwnedBy Team are fine, I guess, the way that they are. Great. Now that we have our lookup table, we are going to add a relationship to that object from incident. So we're going to create a new relationship. We're going to label it incident. I'm not even going to put in the word incident at first. I'm just going to say broken team ownership on incident. I'm adding on incident to the end because you have to have unique relationship names, and just in case you try to do something similar on another business object and name it the same thing, I don't want to cause issues. What we're going to do here is, did I select? No, I didn't. Here. We're going to use constraints, and we're looking for records in this other table. Really, it doesn't matter what our constraints are. We can match either on the rec ID being the same, we can match on the incident ID being the same. The data is going to be the same. I'm going to go by incident ID, and basically it's going to search our SQL view here. This is the data that will be returned by our SQL view. It's going to look for an incident ID or a rec ID matching this incident ID, where it finds the current incident in that list of tickets that have mismatched team ownerships. That's all we're doing. I'm not gonna load this immediately. We're not gonna have this checked though, and yeah, we can do that. Actually, I am going to load immediately. I don't think it'll cause a problem. Well, I don't want to cause performance issues. I don't like having SQL queries as a relationship that might end up on your system. Okay, we're going to publish this. And then after this, all I have to do before I create a map out of this and release it onto the exchange is test it out and make sure that we can actually search for these incidents using our new relationship to find broken incidents. And we'll have a super simple, not entirely simple, it's not going to be as great as the isMemberOfTeam operator where we can just check whether something's a member of a team. I really wish we had a isNotAMemberOfATeam operator, but you know, I'll take what I can get. And our relationship actually isn't showing up here, so I think my relationship didn't save. No, it did. It's here. Oh, you know why? Do you know why? It's because it's a one-to-one relationship. So it shows up here somewhere. If it were, I think it would. If it's a one-to-one relationship, I think normally they show up here if we're able to query for them. I'm going to change it to a one-to-many relationship, and we'll see. I feel like I reloaded my definitions, so I'm gonna reload definitions again and just check real quick on I'm gonna delete this, on a related clause. Yeah, I should have an item that says broken incidents, and I don't. And here I should either have something that says broken incidents with the relationship or like a v underscore and then our table name, and that's not there. So I'm going to make this a links many, and we'll see. Unless, of course, I'm signed into the wrong database. So this one's Sherwell 901. Okay, this one's Sherwell 901 too. I have not yet, as long as I've been doing these videos under this channel, I have not yet signed into the wrong database in one window versus another, but it's happened to me in the past, so I always get paranoid about that when something's not working correctly. Related clause. My relationship is not showing up here. I don't know why. Maybe, let me look at the type of relationships that we have there. So we've got, no, these are definitely links relationships that are showing up. I wonder if it's not letting me query it because it's an external system. I hope not. I was really hoping that I'd be able to get that in there as a relationship that I could actually query. So let me try going to one of these tickets. So this was definitely one. No, the relationship doesn't even load. So I feel like I almost feel like I'm being punked because, well, oh yeah, see, his team ownership is actually correct here, so it wouldn't load in this one. Let me break it. I shouldn't be doing that there. I should be doing that here. We're gonna hit save. And I'll go back into System Analyzer and we'll check. So it didn't automatically load. If I click on it here, yeah, it didn't load here either. So the relationship doesn't load, and I'm not able to search on it, which is really weird. I'm going to go back to this. It could just be that, well, I mean, it is loading immediately. I'm going to check reload relationship when constraint fields change. This is our query here, and then we're checking that incident IDs match. I am going to go into my new lookup table and just double check that it actually loads. Here. Yeah, so it does actually load this data. Here's our ticket number that we were looking at. So in that case, what I'm going to try is, see this, hit OK. I'm going to apply this. I'm going to publish. And then we're going to invalidate our current definitions catalogs. And then I'm going to sign in again. I'm really confused about why exactly this isn't showing up in my relationship constraints, because it seemed like something I could do. It definitely seemed like something I would be able to do. Wonder if it somehow is filtered by the name. No, it couldn't be filtered by the name because you have major incident links similar down there. Yeah, so I can't filter based off of this. This bums me out. I don't know why I wouldn't be able to filter based off of an external table, because that's all this is. It's a lookup table with external data. So we would be able to, we can search on incident ID and all this other stuff. There's external data here. There's nothing in here that would make me think I can't search on it. I'm definitely going to make it not cacheable. And I'll uncheck read only for now to see if that does it. Like, I want to get to the point where our relationship lets us search for it. Granted, we can't make changes to it through that view. I'm pretty sure you couldn't. Maybe Sherwood would let me. I'm not sure. I make it a point not to do that and let things be read-only. But we will. The weird thing is I also can't search on it. Oh, it's because it's a lookup table object, I bet. Oh, I feel stupid. Oh my god. I don't know if I have to have it in Search Manager or not. I'm going to keep it off of Search Manager, and then I'll try. I'm even going to be cocky, and I'll make it read-only again. I feel really dumb that I let that go as a lookup table without noticing. It adds interesting content to my YouTube channel, I guess. Lesson learned. Okay. Hopefully this works now. I don't see my relationship. This bothers me. Okay, we're going to get rid of this. I also don't see it here. I thought setting it to a supporting object would help. So now, well, at the very least, now I want to see if this relationship loads. Yeah, so the relationship works. We're loading that there's a record that there's a broken team ownership here. We're not actually getting it to populate in the search manager. I wonder, I'm going to create a new stored search here. I'm going to try setting this up because it should show I've got the wrong association. It should show up in one of two different places, one of two different really distinct places. Either it's a related item that's like one-to-one and we can get to it from that comparison clause section, or it's one-to-many and we should be able to get to it using the related clause section. And it allows us to do that with both links and owns, so I'm not sure why it lets us do that. Let me look at some of the relationships that it has there and we'll see, I don't know, what kind of objects we're able to use this for. So here's incidents. Category is a lookup table. Change request is major. Some of these other items are lookups as well. It must just be that it's a external business object, which really bums me out because it means I can't do what I expected I would be able to do with this map. I'm going to change this back to a links, like a one-on-one. And yeah, I think that's all I can do. I mean, I don't know of anything else that I could set on here to make this relationship work normally. So we're gonna leave it like this, and we'll just see if we can get to it through either the comparison clause or the other clause. I think possibly it's because we're using constraints, and I don't know of a way to make that work when it has constraints then. So we're going to publish this. I could import the data. I really don't want to. And the reason for that is, you know, if I'm importing the data, you have to set up a scheduled job when you create when you apply my map. It's more work for you. It's not going to be great. We're going to search for incidents. And I don't see my object here, which if it's one-to-one, I would really want it to be there. And I'm guessing it doesn't show up here either. All right, so we can't do it. We are going to, I guess I'm going to configure it as an imported business object because I've got no other choice. We're going to nix this relationship right here. And then we're going to find our supporting business object. And I feel like I can't change this from like real-time link to an import, so I'm going to probably have to delete it. So I'm not sure how it actually does that, which is interesting. So we're just going to remove this business object. We're going to publish. Then what we're going to do is we're going to import that business object or we're going to create that business object as imported data, which I really didn't want to do, but it's the only way for me to get this into a search. It bothers me a lot. All right, so we're importing rec ID. We're importing incident ID. We're adding owned by. We're adding owned by ID. And then owned by team and team ID. Just in case you need to search on those. We'll grab rec ID, and we'll also do last mod by date time. I wonder if this is marked as read-only, if I can actually update it. This says it'll be read-only inside of Sharewell, which is actually fine. We're going to leave that the way it is because you don't need to update this once it's in Sharewell. Great. And then what we do is we build our relationship. This is going to look exactly like the same relationship we built earlier. I'm really annoyed that I wasted some time on this video on that other method and it didn't work. Because all this relationship is actually very simple functionality. You saw earlier creating our SQL view was pretty easy. All this is a relationship. I like how there's a rec ID 2 value because there's a rec ID that gets created for the imported data. That's interesting. Yeah, we're going to do that. That's a nice simple relationship there, and it doesn't take much for it to load. Okay, that's that. I'm going to double check my related item here and I want to make sure that rec ID 2 is the field that I expect it to be. For my external data, it is. I'm publishing this, and then we'll be able to. First thing I'm going to have to do is import data into that view, which is, it's sad because it means when you apply this, you'll have to set up a scheduler, and I didn't set up forms and grids for this. And that just means I'll have to include a note about that in my document for this map, which is very sad. It's a sad day for Sherwell. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. It just means I can't do this in real time in exactly the way that I wanted to. I could technically... I hate that I scan and it gives me this warning. I understand that there's a stop on warnings checkbox that controls that, but I almost never get warnings in Sherwell. I feel like I've only ever gotten warnings. Uh-oh. Wonder what happened here. I wonder if I open up the event viewer, if I'll get an error. So this is 10:43. It's currently 10:45. The error didn't get logged. It says there's a correlation ID error for me to go and check a correlation ID. It's not in the event viewer. I guess I have to see if there's something here that would cause an error, but I'm not sure what it would be. Yeah, I'm not sure. We are going to, I don't have any really, whoa, I've got, oh, there's created and last mod by fields here for no reason. I feel like it's trying to make this team, or this business object, this name, when I have a view with the same name. We're going to call this broken team assignments. Or maybe even do it as v underscore. Little things like that irk me. Correlation ID and no log, and then like the warning that I can technically ignore. I definitely can. I'm not used to it ignoring it because on like version 8.3.1 or 9.0.1 I never have warnings, so I never have to check that box. Now there's a warning that's a little intermittent. Happens at points in time that I don't expect. Oh no. There's still an error here. Maybe it's an internal name that I didn't change. No, it's not. This still exists. I still don't have anything in my event log for this. Oh no. Let me check if my view still exists, because it could have broken it. It does appear to still exist, which is good. So now we have to troubleshoot what could possibly be wrong. We have a business object, just named v underscore broken team assignments. That should be fine. We have a relationship, which should be fine. The thing that gets me about this is, oh, we have a form with the same name. I'm sure of it. Wait, I couldn't possibly have a form with that same name. I'm gonna hit apply because, I probably have the same one with the grid. There's probably a unique index on that table if there is a form with the other business object that didn't get deleted. We'll check. I'm not getting error messages, so I have to troubleshoot this one just blind. It's great. No! You know how I knew that wouldn't work? There was a slight delay right before it gave me the error. It's saying copy to temp error. The really weird thing about that is there could still just be a temp table that got screwed up the first time that's not getting imported now. I'm going to go and see. I'm also going to check, like if I go into this guy right here, I'm going to go to the database section. Oh, there it is right there. It didn't update the custom storage name. I am having so many little issues tonight. It's bad. Oh, I can't have that space there. And I can't hit delete. This little dialog here works as it's like it inserts new letters over old ones. You can hit backspace, but it doesn't backspace over spaces. There we go. There we go. I think my problem's solved. I don't know because I can't check these errors, but I think I got it. My experience, yay! My experience tells me I got that one. Now I get to import my data. Yay! We're going to delete everything in there and import all new records. It completed. There's 3 records in our import. If I go into not in options, I keep moving my mouse too quickly. If I go into table management, I think I clicked the wrong button on my mouse and it changed my mouse sensitivity there. Here's our 3 records. That's what we're looking for. And now for the big main event, we have a relationship on incident. I want to be able to use a related clause, and there it is. That's what I wanted the entire time. That's why this video is now 36 minutes, is I want to be able to search for incidents with a related clause that there's at least one broken team assignment. And when I do that, I get my 3 tickets that are broken. Here's the one I was looking at earlier, and when I click on it, instead of getting our lookup table business object, the form for that, we get the actual incident. So now if you apply this, once I actually create a map for it, if you've watched this along, if you go and apply this, what you'll get is you can now create an ad hoc search, and if you want to find out whether or not an incident has broken team assignments, you can do that with a related clause. It's not going to be as simple as just an isMemberOfTeam operator, but the reason I did all of this is because I want to get that as close to your incident search as possible, because you just can't search for whether the owner is not a member of the team that the ticket's owned by, otherwise. I had to go into SQL for it. So this should hopefully mitigate that issue to some extent. You will still have to set up a scheduled job to populate that imported data, maybe on a daily basis or hourly basis, however you want to do that, but at least you'll be able to do that. That's the end of our video. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around for this long, feel free to subscribe and leave any comments under the comment section below. Thanks.